Hello, and welcome back to Access Your Mastermind, the podcast where we explore the timeless principles of success and the extraordinary humans who apply them in real life. I'm your host, Julie Oldberry, and today I am beyond excited to bring you our very first Spotlight episode, a special feature designed to shine a light on modern leaders, thinkers, and change makers who are mastering their mindsets and transforming their lives, businesses, and communities. And there is no better person to kick off the Spotlight series than the incredible Yulin Lee, a money empowerment coach for women, founder of Project M Mind and Money, and author of the powerful book Unleashed, Tapping into Your Feminine Instinct to Create Financial Independence. Yulin's journey took her from communist China to Silicon Valley and beyond. And along the way, she discovered that true wealth isn't just about numbers. It's about mindset, self-worth, and a clear, powerful purpose. In this episode, we're diving into how Yulin is helping women not only organize their finances, but completely transform their relationship with money, using the success principles of Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich as her foundation. So if you've ever felt intimidated by money, unsure of your financial future, or like you're meant for something more, this conversation is for you. Hello, Yulin. Welcome to Access Your Mastermind. It's so nice to have you in our spotlight this week.
Well, thank you for inviting me. This is such a great honor.
Oh, I'm so happy you agreed to join us. So I want to dive right in and get to understand what inspired you to start your journey in money empowerment for women.
Yeah, um, couple things. One is my background, my professional background in working in the real estate, in working in financial advisory, because I used to be a mortgage advisor and then I became also a financial advisor, um, dealing with people's money. And it's my observation of what we do as the professionals, whether it's a mortgage advisor or financial advisor, how we help them invest or getting mortgage to purchase a real estate property. But then also just listening to them and talking about money. And sometimes it's watching the couple's conversation. And I just had a lot of observation of get a glimpse of how people manage money on a day-to-day basis. And what I realized that there is a gap. There's a gap between what we do, in terms of investing their money, and then how people handle money on their own. And as the, financial advisor, what your goal is to invest their money. So we're not trained or taught to or get paid to, help people how to become better, with budgeting or whatever, right? And so I realized, well, no one is really addressing that. And so that was like, oh, this is where I can build that bridge, fill that gap
Mhm.
in helping people become money savvy on a day-to-day basis. It doesn't have to be about investing. It's not about, oh, you have to be this genius to be able to invest and blah, blah, blah. It's really about how can I be money savvy in my own right. So
That's
so
great.
that's one aspect of it. And then the other aspect of how I eventually landed here is, now looking back, I realized I had this break in my life where I stepped away from, the crazy life that I had in Silicon Valley. And then we moved to Paris. And during those years in Paris, I wasn't working for the first couple of years. And that gave me the time and space to really sit back and think about what do I want in life? And then also what would make me feel motivated and excited to get up every morning and really live into my life. And I really appreciate that I had this opportunity to do go through that process to arrive at this decision. And so I think my maybe advice for everyone who's listening is if you're trying to work on, finding your own life purpose or finding that burning desire or that chief aim in life, as Napoleon Hill would say, sometimes you really need to take a step back. And the step back meaning creating that space and time for yourself to be away from everything else. Now, if you can move to another country or move to Paris, all power to you. But even if you can, just focus on maybe carving out on the weekends and just say for, on the weekends, on Saturday, Sunday, I'm just going to dedicate this weekend to go hiking, to go do something where you're not in your head, when you're not in the daily space. It's your home, your office. And it's by having that space and time and allowing for those inspirations, like Dr. Joe Vitale would say, like inspired, the inspirations, and then you take inspired actions. Um, all of those that is the intuition, that's the inspiration that come to you, and that's actually already inside of you. And so, I wanted to bring that out just because I sometimes I find we mix of what we think we want versus what we really want inside. And we can't really hear what we want inside until we quiet everything else down. And so, yeah, so I just wanted to say that it's a process of thinking, but then it's also a process of allowing for those messages and inspirations come to you.
Yeah, I think that's true in, all aspects, even if you're not, thinking about financially
Hmm.
specifically, it
Hmm.
seems that that's good advice generally to just sort of get into your own space and connect like that. So I think that's really important to bring out. Thank you for sharing that. I'm curious, did you have a defining moment when like you realized for yourself that your relationship with money had to change, or was this not like personal in that way to you, just, more of an opportunity?
Yeah, so my relationship with money growing up, I would have to say I am one of those probably few blessed ones in the world where um, I didn't really have any struggle with money in the relationship wise. I mean, I didn't grow up with money, but one thing I always say now looking back as an adult is that we didn't grow up with any money, but I never felt poor.
Mm.
And And so I'm making that distinction between being broke, which is a circumstance, and that, growing up, maybe the first 20 years of my life, well, we were practically broke most of the time just because of the life circumstances. Um, but I never felt poor. And that's because my mom and my dad, they would always, encourage me, and they will always say, you can have anything you want. You can do. So it was never, this thing about, oh, we can't afford it. We don't have the money for that, which is very typical for a lot of parents to say to the kids. I mean, it was true for us as well, but that was not the message I got. It was always like, oh, if we want this, okay, well then let's start saving for it.
Ah,
So
interesting.
it's a very different attitude. It's not about, oh, you know, you
Yeah,
know, you
that's
can't
true. You
afford
didn't get
that.
the money
Get it.
doesn't grow on trees or anything like that.
Well, that I did.
Okay.
But at the same time, that phrase though, in some ways, I do think money grows on trees. And because to me, you can think about a money tree.
Mhm.
And so if you plant something, it will grow.
Oh, that's true. Yes.
And so when you plant the seeds, you can grow your money tree. But
Huh.
it was really about, you know, what you can do or not do around money. And so what I, was brought up, the way I was brought up is, okay, yeah, we don't have money right now, but if we want this thing, okay, well, we'll start saving for it. So it was always achievable. We just have to do something towards it, right?
And that's
Uh,
interesting too, because it set that up as sort of a goal for you. It wasn't like just shutting it down, like, no, we can't afford
Absolutely.
it, stop thinking about it. It was like,
Right.
you want it? Then let's plan. Let's put that as a
Yep.
goal. Let's take some,
Yep.
steps toward that. So I think that's,
But
a
yeah.
really great way to approach that, even for parents, who are speaking with their children now, or their children say that I think, that seems like a better response than, yeah, just.
Yeah. So I've been very lucky. Now, there was kind of a pivotal moment for me in my life, and that is around um 20, 25 years ago when I read the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki and Sharon Lecter. That book changed my trajectory because I have shifted from being an income earner to a wealth builder.
And can you explain the differences?
Yeah. So, growing up, the way we were taught, you go to school, you get good grades, and you get a
Mhm.
good job, and you get good pay, and this is all for, so you have enough money to buy a house, to get the security, buy a car, that whole formula, right? And so in that context, money is a tool. Like I need to go to work to get money, and when I have money, I use the money to buy something. So to me, money is a tool. But when you shift from being an income earner to a wealth builder, money becomes my partner. And
Interesting.
so when you're building wealth, you're not just having to, trade your hour for the dollar. You're actually working with money or have money work with you for it to multiply so you can stop working for money. So I would say, yeah, so my relationship with money shifted, in that pivotal time frame in that space where money was a tool and then money became a partner.
So now based on that and having considering your whole, personal journey, how has
Mhm.
that influenced the way you coach women today on their money?
Yeah, so, so many women have issues with their relationship to money. And it has, my own experience really has helped my coaching process is because I know what is it like. I know what to feel like to have a good relationship with money and to be totally self-empowered around money and that you don't have to be a billionaire, gazillionaire to have all the security that you want. It's all inside of you. And so, what how it has helped me in my coaching it is really I'm living it. And that I know what it feels like. I know what's it like to live a life where you're just doing purpose work and you're not working to put food on the table. And so yeah, so that's how it's helped.
That's amazing. So, in Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, he talks about the importance of having a definite chief aim.
Mhm.
How do you help women define theirs in terms of wealth and financial success?
Yeah, this is like a really important point because oftentimes when, most people when they come to me, they say, "Yeah, I want financial security. I want to feel safe. I, want to be independent." And so what that means to them is I need more money. But then the question is always how much more? And they don't know that. And so that's the question. That's really the bottom line is if you think you want more money, then how much more? But then to go one step further, which is, the chief aim in life about, okay, so if you have the money, what does that really mean to you? What would that bring you, right? I think not sometimes, most times people think that if I just have more money, it will solve all my problems, but we know it's not true. And so in the context of working with money, I do ask clients to take a step back and to say, okay, so for that amount of money, what is it really going to get you? And to dig a little deeper and always it goes back to their childhood experience about what money represent for them. But then at some point they'll realize money is a tool to help me get there, but money is not the solution. It's something else deeper. And this is also the one aspect that I am doing more and more in my coaching as well. In the past, I would probably focus more on the financial aspect of it, but now having been part of Napoleon Hill Institute and also having learned the material myself and also living some of those principles myself, I am definitely incorporating more of that in my coaching as well.
Do you see that that's making an impact or having a different or more positive outcome? for people when you are able to incorporate that?
Yeah, I am getting so much more satisfaction now. Number one, you end up, as a practitioner, if you will, if that's the right word, you start to attract different type of clients. If I was just focused on, let me help you with your finances, oftentimes it's people who come with this idea of just help me solve this problem and then I'll be fine. So it's very goal oriented, but it's also very like material based goal. Now I am attracting more clients who are also on a spiritual growth journey. They're on a self-growth journey. They not only want more money, but they also want more meaning, more purpose. And so yeah, so it's definitely helped me shift my business in the way of, just attracting different people, different clients. And I will tell you in the last few months, just all of a sudden, I've had quite a few people who told me, they said, something you said to me a month ago, it really changed my life.
Wow.
Or something that, you like I casually said, I don't even remember what I said, but it made a huge difference in their life. I'm like, oh my God, I am just so happy to hear that.
Yeah, that's totally rewarding, isn't it? Just to,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Many people struggle with limiting beliefs about money. I'm just assuming because I'm one of them. But what's one common money belief you see in your clients, and how
Yeah.
do you help them shift from that?
Yeah. So the most common one, and it's because also I primarily focus on helping women. So with women, the biggest, I would say the limiting beliefs is the lack of self-worthiness. I'm not worth it. I don't deserve it. And again, all of that trace back to it has nothing to do with money, actually. It manifested in their money life, but it originated in something else that happened, in how they grew up, in how their parents raised them, in the environment that they grew up in. And oftentimes, um, what ended up happening is we realize it's something that their parents said or done, but they actually did it out of good intention. But as kids, we don't understand that. We have our own interpretation through our kids' lens. And so sometime during our childhood, we would make a key decision about something about ourselves. For example, one thing I hear very often is, my parents were divorced when I was little, and I just never felt that I mattered because the parents were busy divorcing. And for the child, she was so emotionally vulnerable, but there was nobody there for her to really give her that emotional protection as the family breakup. Or sometimes it's, parents left, the dad left, the mom left, and then the kids blame themselves that I'm not good enough. That's why he left, or that's why she left, and therefore I'm not worthy, I'm not deserving. And so that is the most common thing that I come across. And then, like I said, it started out with nothing to do with money, but it does manifest in your adult life, does manifest in how your money life ended up being.
Mm.
Because if that's how you're feeling, you're going to make financial decisions based on that feeling. I'm not worthy. And so oftentimes, I meet women who are able to make money and they're successful in their career, but in their personal finance life, it's kind of a mess. They'll find ways to get rid of it because to them it's like, oh, it's too much. I don't want to deal with it. Oh, this is something, some other responsibility. Or if I make more money, I start to feel guilty. So I'm trying to find subconsciously, I'm finding ways to just get rid of it. So I actually feel like, oh, I'm a good person because I don't, I'm not deserving, so I shouldn't have that. So
That's
there's a
just
lot of that.
Yeah, that's and so fascinating to me to, just hear you kind of unpack that because, first of all, I don't think I've ever sat down with a financial advisor who would kind of, I don't want to say diagnose, but I can't think of a better word right now, but who can identify those more deep-rooted subconscious
They don't.
beliefs and patterns that truly probably have more impact on your financial success and security than the actual, money flowing in and out at the moment. So just it's interesting and what a study to look at money from that perspective. Yeah,
Yeah.
really, because
And
you're really learning a lot about the person. I mean, you're
yeah,
like right
absolutely.
into their vulnerability.
Absolutely. And going back to what you just said, yeah, the financial advisor, like I used to be one. I don't because that's not what I trained on. That's not what I get paid for, right? As
Mhm.
a financial advisor, my job is to invest your money. So that's what I'm going to focus on. And this is exactly why I started the coaching is because I realized there's no one else. And this was, almost 11 years ago now. No one was really addressing this space. And this is where I want to fill that gap.
And and I listen to you and I hear this, and to me, it just reminds me of how many systems we have and like institutions that we just sort of take for granted. Like everybody knows what a financial advisor is, and you can get one or that, but the system of that doesn't really incorporate the human
Yeah,
aspect,
yeah, yeah.
or those pieces. And I just see so many opportunities to sort of rebuild everything
Yeah.
that we do more consciously. So if I were going to, rebuild finance, I would rebuild it like this, where you
Hmm.
get into the roots of
Yeah.
what causes
Yeah.
people to
And
either, save, spend, or invest in themselves.
right. And going forward, especially with all the automations, all the AI stuff coming up, I mean, we're already using robo advisor, right? So the investment aspect of it can be replaced with technology.
Yeah.
But it's the human interaction. It's working with the human psyches. That's still not anytime soon, like, hopefully not to be replaced by technology, right? And this is where that's why I think there's a lot of work that can be done, but it's also, it's a very fascinating field.
So you had mentioned that you're a coach with the Napoleon Hill Institute as
Mhm.
well, and that you work with these principles. I'm like such as desire, faith, autosuggestion, imagination, decision, all of those. Which one of those principles has had the biggest impact on your financial success, would you say?
Mm, I would say for me, it would be faith,
And why?
or or I maybe it's applied faith,
Applied faith.
more specifically, right? Um, it's because a lot of the other things like the auto suggestions and other things, it's still the doing, but to have applied faith, there's no doing, that's being.
Interesting.
And I think sometimes we get swept away by all the doing. We get busy with the doing. And then I always talk about this, this flow state or this forced energy. And I think with tools like auto-suggestion, it's great, but it can be a tricky thing because if it's almost like if you try too hard, then you're starting to forcing it.
Uh-huh.
It's a fine balance between using auto suggestion as a way to keep, you know, putting in your mind and but not to the point where you're forcing it or um to the point where it becomes so automated, it's been mechanical. In some way, it's being filtered out by your psyche. It's like this, it's almost becoming this ritual. You do this, you say something to it, it's like it's affirmation, right?
Yeah.
Um, for example, affirmation works, but not all of them. And oftentimes when they don't work is we become so mechanical with it that it's not really sinking in anymore. It's just it's like reciting Bible or something, it's just yeah, this is the thing I'm reciting it, but it's not really hitting it inside. And the key, as you would know, it's actually hitting when it's hitting inside, that's when it start to have this effect that it does. And so faith to me is that inner work. And I've been tested many, many times. And it's really about doing the work that you need to do and then apply faith. And that is to me is the bigger for me. It's a bigger piece that really helped me move along and in my own journey and kind of moving the needle.
That's interesting. I love that. But you talked about faith as being like a being
Hmm.
versus the doing.
Hmm.
And I can agree with that. And I think that's a very good distinction. I just find that sometimes I'm more like acting in faith. I'm using it in almost the combination of the auto suggestions too. Like I, I will have certain ones that I'll say pretty regularly, but I have to use them a lot to interrupt or change the more intrusive or negative or limiting thought that's kind of sprouted in my mind. So I sort of have the go-to things that I can reframe those
Hmm.
thoughts as they're coming through.
Hmm.
But as those thoughts are coming up and stuff, sometimes that shakes your faith a little bit,
Hmm.
and or at least for me, I've felt it like quivering. I'm like, oh, it's starting to think a little negative or doubting that I could do this or whatnot. So I feel that with faith, I've had to remind myself that I have faith, and I feel it's weigh on me a little is that I still have to do with it. And perhaps just hearing what you said about faith really being the being is that I need to still develop or work on the faith a little more until it feels like that, and where it never feels like I have to sort of do for it. It's just, it is. So I think that's
Yeah,
an interesting distinction. And I hadn't even realized that for myself, but I think it's very important. That's maybe like a good barometer or measure for, how closely you're holding that faith. So thanks.
yeah, and I've definitely been tested many, many times, and I'm not saying that I've got it down, and I don't think and this is my personal belief that it's always going to be a continuous process. So because we're human, right? We're not robots, and so as humans, um, I don't strive to be perfectly having 100% faith at all times. It is definitely something that I think every one of us need to work on to cultivate more of, but it's a continuous process.
All right. So you've worked with many women to transform their financial lives. Could you share with us maybe a success story that really stands out to you?
Well, so I just finished a program called From Scatter to Organize, Get Your Financial House in Order. It's a mini group coaching program, and a couple of the ladies in that program have said multiple times, it's like, oh my God, I don't know where I would have been if I didn't do this work. And so, and it's just, every time when I hear them say this, and then, just we just had a call yesterday or the day before, and one of the ladies said, when I first signed on, I was feeling very low, and uh, even after she signed on, I almost like wanted to quit. But then I decided, no, I'm gonna stick with this. And she said, I'm so glad I did because now I feel so much more hopeful. I have so much clarity and I have so many ideas now. And so it's really helped her shift it. Um, so I would say, at the end of the day, I don't transform people's lives. They transform themselves. And as a coach, I'm a guide, I'm a facilitator. And for those who are committed to doing the work, and I know it's hard sometimes and it's easy to want to give up, but for those ones who made the decision to say, no, I'm going to stick with it, they come out the other side in so much better, position where they feel more hopeful. And I think that's at the end of the day, that's what it matters is, when we live our life, you got to feel like there's a sense of hope. There's a sense of purpose. And doing the work with me oftentimes is about bringing more clarity. When you have more clarity, the doing becomes easier. So,
That's great. So, I know you had mentioned before when we got started off about kind of going to your space, getting your like quiet space or whatnot. Do you have any other advice or strategies that you could offer to our listeners about just any of these tools that would benefit them in kind of improving their money mindset? Like when you're just getting started, maybe like what are you kind of telling to your coaching clients on day one?
yeah. So I would say start with meditation. Because for me, as a money coach, I always tell people it's never about the money. It's really about what money can bring to us in our lives. So at the end of the day, it's about our lives. It's about us. It's not about money. And from that perspective, in order to have more money or have a better relationship or have more financial whatever that you want, it starts with you. And so meditation is one of the most important or best practice you can have, to really quiet yourself down and then to get through the clutter. We have so much mental clutter and emotional clutter around money. And it's all the stuff that we, carry through our lives. And now we're just being weighted down. And so it takes work to peel those onions. It's like an onion to peel those layers to shed those whatever we took on. And the only way to do that is to start to calm down and and in order to calm down, I find that meditation has been one of the best practice you can have.
Now, I've had the opportunity to see you meditate where it was like, and I walked by, you were sitting there, and then like 30 minutes later, I walked by and you were still sitting there. I remember going up to you and I'm, how did you do that for like 30 minutes? Because you were perfectly like still and whatnot. Did that just automatically happen for you where you could get into that stillness and meditative state for like 30 solid minutes? How did you get there? Because I've
Oh,
had
yeah.
not had that experience.
Yeah, no, at home I've done like an hour and a half
Wow.
was my longest, and I didn't even know because I these days I don't even put alarm anymore. I kind of know when I come out, and
Hmm.
the one time I was like, holy cow, that was an hour and a half. I didn't even feel that way. I was definitely in a different zone.
Ah.
No, it did not come over time. I've been practicing meditation for over 20 years. But I would say for the first, until 2023, when I went on this meditation retreat that I shared with you before. Before that, it was always on and off, on and off. Like I would do it for a year, maybe 6 months, a year, and then I got bored with it, and then I stopped, and then after a while, I was like, oh yeah, I haven't meditated for a while, and then I go back, and so I've been doing it on and off for almost 20 years, but it was really the last, a year and a half or so after my meditation retreat in 2023. And it was a 9 day silent meditation retreat. And when you meditate for 8 hours a day for 8 days and half day on the ninth, you get used to it. And now I'm just,
So you
yeah,
were in training for this. Be honest. You went to training.
yeah, I guess so. But you know, I didn't force it. Again, it was a calling. It, I was off meditation for a long, long time, and I wanted to go back into it, and I couldn't. Before I went to this meditation retreat, I couldn't sit for 2 minutes. I was like, I wanted to get back into it. I couldn't. Like, it's like I would sit and it's like, I gotta go, you know? And so that's why when I thought maybe I should go sign up for a meditation retreat, that will help me to get back into it. And so
And it
that's when
worked
and it worked.
really
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
great. I love that. Um, what's your take on the role of gratitude in wealth building? Does that have a place?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, gratitude is everything in life, and wealth building is just part of life, right? When you're in the gratitude mode, it's not just about, being thankful. When you're in the gratitude mode, you also are able to see more opportunities. So when you're blaming, when you're just feeling bad, when you're seeing the negative side and not being in the gratitude, mode, then it's all about what's not working, right?
Okay.
So when you're in the gratitude, it's about, okay, so what do I have today? I may want $1 million, but I have 10,000 today, and that's pretty good.
Yeah, so when I've also heard people when they talk about writing their gratitude lists or something like, whatever their practices around gratitude, that they'll be thankful for things that they hope to have in the future, as if they already possess them today.
Mhm.
So is that, do you recommend that as well
Yeah,
in this? Like,
so
could you say, I'm so happy and grateful for the $1 million that came to me through my service, or, what would, versus
yeah,
while you have the 10,000, you're thankful for
right.
the million.
Right. Yeah, so I'm also part of the morning self-discipline camp with Napoleon Hill Institute. And on that call we do our gratitude journals. We also write goals. And one of the things I do differently now is that instead of writing goals, I write my new reality. So instead of saying my goal is to have $1 million by the end of December this year, is my new reality is I have $1 million in my bank right now. And so, and then from there, you're getting to this, oh, it's so cool. You're in this gratitude mode. And then you look back and say, oh, these are the 6 things that I did to get here. And so those are the basically traditionally you would write goals and then the 6 things that you would do today to move you closer to the goal.
Okay.
I write it as my new reality is this, and these are the 6 things I did to get here.
That's really cool. I like that a lot. Is it the feeling behind it? Like, is that what we're trying to get to? Is it like when you're saying that you're thankful for the $1 million, like intellectually, you don't have it, but you can see it and you can, believe that you can achieve it. But is it to get that feeling behind it? Like, how does it feel to have the million? And like when you're thankful for that, you're like pulling in the feeling, like is that the important part? Like what is it doing when we're
Yes.
being grateful for something in the future? What is it doing
Yeah.
for us today?
Right. So, I write gratitude. So my gratitude, it may or may not have anything to do with the goals. Sometimes I include that, but a lot of times it's I'm just grateful for being here. I'm grateful for my parents because who I am today has everything to do with how they raised me. They made me who I am today. So I'm so, grateful for that. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for the beautiful weather there. And so um, that's where I start is just being grateful for the existence, period.
Hmm.
And then on top of that, then there are specific things that I'm grateful for. And so those are the things I may include that just depending on the day, depending on the time. Um, the goal part is that the reason I stopped writing goals is I realize, again, as we study this material, I realize how important the words are. Each word carries a certain meaning, and it carries a certain image in our head. So if I write down my goal is this, goal is something you haven't achieved. Goal is something far out there. So every day, if I tell myself my goal is this, that means every day I'm telling myself this thing isn't here yet.
Um,
So that's why I stopped using the word goal. I don't have goals anymore. I just have new realities.
I really can. Yeah, I don't either, Yulin. I have new realities too. I'm done with goals.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
but because
yeah,
I completely agree with you. I think, words, they have weight, meaning, frequency, got everything. And, you have to choose your words very carefully. And I think especially when you're writing your new realities, some people like to call them goals still, or your gratitude or your affirmations or auto suggestions, like you're right, every word matters. And I think
yeah,
that's very interesting for you, or like just very insightful, really, to recognize that a goal is not yet attained. And yet here we are saying, you know, live as if, act as
right,
if, and yet
right.
our vocabulary is contradictory to that.
Exactly. And that's also part of my, just as we study this material more and more, just same thing with auto suggestion, right? Is that sometimes we say these things, we repeat these things, and it becomes mechanical. But what happens is your body does not lie. So when you're in a certain situation and when you say something that is different from what you've been experiencing, when those auto suggestions become mechanical, then your body it's still acting, behaving, feeling the old way. And that's probably why it's not working. If you're someone who's been doing all these things and you haven't seen the results, it's because there's still that misalignment. And I think part of that misalignment is your body hasn't shifted. Maybe your mind, your conscious mind has shifted, but your body hasn't shifted.
And I think that gets back to the feeling part too. When you're
Yeah,
saying like when the
exactly.
affirmations become stale, really, or
Right.
just kind of, you're like just walking through the motions of them
Exactly. Exactly. That
versus
is
being
where I,
able to feel them. And I think that goes back to exactly what you were saying, just about the word choice and the meaning. And what you
Mhm.
have to load those with something that's going to make you feel something about
Yeah.
it, and not just this is what I want, blah, 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 blah. Right?
Right, right. And this is where, each one of us have to, as we study the material, we have to ask ourselves, what works for me? What doesn't work for me? And you can make the adjustment. And this is part of also being self-empowered to know, I can tweak here and there to make it work for me.
Absolutely. And that is important too, because you do have to make it your own. You're the one that's living it, right? So you
That's
might
right.
as well do it in the way that works for you.
That's right.
Um, I want to talk just a little bit more about your business and understanding. Like, so do you have any programs right now that you're offering, or sort of new ventures or anything that you want to share or whatnot? I'd
Yes.
like to be able to know where people can connect with you and
Thank you.
um, just be able to access your services and things like that. So please use this time to tell us what you have going on.
Yeah, thank you. So I do have, like I mentioned, I just finished one cohort of this program called From Scatter to Organize, Get Your Financial House in Order. I find that this particular topic is very relevant for many people because when they get stressed about money, oftentimes it's because they lack clarity. And the reason they lack clarity because their finances is not well organized. And when you get your finances organized, it's not just for the sake of organization. It actually helps you to make better financial decisions. So, and then also having now heard the feedback from the several ladies who were in this program, I decided to run it again.
Oh,
And
great.
so the new cohort is going to start on April 16th, and it will be 4 coaching calls covering the key topics of how to get organized, and then a one bonus call on, answering any questions. And also I do in that program, I do mix the doing and the being, incorporating
Okay.
some of the Napoleon Hill Institute, the teachings for success. And then, with the doing, when you organize your finances, what does that mean for you? Once you get organized, you're becoming a new person. And so, it's kind of like organizing your space, right? I can help you get your finances organized today, but you have to be a different person as well so you can carry it through, carry it on. Otherwise, it'll get disorganized again a month later.
That is true. So did you say that those are live sessions with you?
Yeah, so those are live group coaching sessions, 4 sessions. Each is 1 hour on Zoom, and then also a bonus session. So it's a total of 5 sessions.
Oh, that's amazing. And then do
Yeah.
you offer anything for maybe somebody who isn't quite ready to commit to sitting down for a weekly Zoom or something like that? Do you have a
I have a
programs
money
that?
confidence course.
Hmm.
It's an online course that you
Oh,
can do
great.
on yourself. And yeah, I mean that would be the starter. But I will say though, if for anyone who really wants a different financial outcome than what they currently have right now, then this program is your starter program.
The
Think about it.
confidence one?
That the confidence one is kind of little teaser, right?
Okay.
It's a self-study course, and I have seen people who purchase them. Some of them they they work through it and then they actually schedule a call with me because I offer that as
Okay.
that a discovery call with me. But a lot of people haven't gone through it. So what does that tell me? That people buy stuff, but then they still don't do it on their own
Correct.
because it's a self-study course. So if for anyone who wants any kind of improvement with your finances, getting your finance organized is your starting point because you have to get it organized for you to do anything. So if you're not organized, if you're like stuff all over the place, if you don't know how much you're spending every month, don't come and ask me, what to invest in, what should I do? Because whatever decision you make, you don't even know if that decision is it's good for you or not because you're not even organized.
That's very true.
And then if you cannot commit to 4 1 hour sessions, then you're not serious about your money. You say you want more money, but you don't. If you can't commit to that, then you
Yeah.
know, you, it's just like health. People say, I want to lose weight, but I'm not willing to watch what I eat, but I'm not willing to go to the gym at least once a month or, once a week, then you don't want that because you're not willing to work for it.
Yeah, I think that's a people don't want to hear that either, right? They don't want
That's right.
that kind of, I would call it a smack in the face a little bit, but that's the
We
truth.
have to be true.
You know,
We have
you
to.
really are either going to make the investment in your time and in yourself or whatnot, or, are people really that detached from themselves to care enough to do that, right? Like, I mean, you could purchase something and it's just not there, but then you can have this one-on-one, or a group coaching call or something, you can have like real feedback. Um, I
Well,
just wonder sometimes if people are, maybe it's not that they don't care, maybe it's that they don't know how to commit in them to themselves, or they don't know how to invest, or they don't have that feeling of a worthiness, or that this is important, or that, oh, well, something else came up. Like they're just completely disorganized in their whole way of living.
yeah,
So when this
yeah,
opportunity comes forward and they're like, yeah, I'll get the one and maybe I'll do it. But what you're saying
yeah.
is no, like if you really want to see the results, you have
You
to
have
do
to
program. You
prioritize.
have to do it. And if you want to start and do the online one itself, go ahead and do that. But you're still going to be wanting, at that point, you're going to have to finish it, and you're going to
Yeah,
have
you
to
have
finish
to
it
finish.
without support.
Right.
And, then you could book your call and see. But I love what you're saying there because that is the cold hard facts. It's just, I don't want to maybe slam the door at people and saying you're just not ready if they think they're ready, right? They feel like they want to be ready, but there's still
They,
something that
they,
holds them from being
yeah.
there.
Right. So this is kind of this is the reality check, right? Like you said, this is what people don't want to hear, but this is actually going to move you forward by hearing it. Because you have to change the way of being to get a different result. And if your way of being is I just keep saying I want this, but you don't do this to get that, then you're just spinning, right? So it's really hearing the reality of what it takes. And what it takes is not something hard, actually. I actually think it's very interesting. There's different layers of psychology around this whole behavior, right? And this is how the other reason why I started the coaching about money is I was studying behavioral economics.
Mm.
And it's all about psychology around investing and money and all that. And so, and myself included, I have bought courses where I end up not doing anything with it, multiple of them. I will confess to that. So I understand the psychology around it. Sometimes we do it, it's because the act of paying something, the act of paying for this money confidence course, make me feel like I've done something already. So like,
Right.
so like, yeah,
I
I
am very
really
confident I can spend money.
well, so yeah, so I really need to get better with my money. And I see this course. She sounds great. I buy it. And somehow, to some level in my psychology, it's like it's checked off. It's like, oh, I did something about it without actually doing the work. And so that could be part of it, right? Just buying it, thinking, oh, not thinking, it's not the thinking, it's actually the feeling that I've done something. And so I feel like I've
Right.
already accomplished something. And which is true because you took the first step to buying. But at the same time, it's the working through. And oftentimes for most people, working on money hasn't been their thing. And
Right.
this is exactly why they're struggling because it hasn't been their thing. So it's not their norm.
Okay.
So you have to change what's norm for you, right? And so that's why doing this live coaching program is you get accountability. You're part of the group. You're on the call. You have me. I'm emailing people, reminding people. Now, there's still people who don't do all the work, and you just have to let be. But at least there is support when you're in that program. But at the end of the day, though, it's about how to make choices. And this is why I teach my kids about money when they were very young
Yeah.
and allowing them to spend money on their own and blah, blah, blah. And it's because I want them to learn how to make choices. So should I spend money on this? Should I spend money on that? Should I spend my time on this? Should I spend my time on that? So it's at the end of the day, how successful you are, I think, this is my personal opinion, is how well you can make choices in life. And so if you say I really want more money to give me more financial freedom, to give me more financial stability, security, and you have to make a choice, going back to Napoleon Hill, you have to make a decision that this is important to you. And so when you make a decision that this is important to you, you act on it, you take that inspired action. That's, when I say I see my clients transform themselves, I'm not doing it for them. They're doing it for themselves. And that's also where the self-empowerment comes in. You have to be self-empowered because nobody can motivate you except yourself.
That's the truth. So true. All right, to wrap up, I have one final question for you.
Mhm.
And we are doing segments where we're having like principal playlist. So I'm kind of just querying all of our guests and asking them, do you have a go-to song? Is there like one song that maybe keeps you in touch with your purpose or makes you think of one of the principles, or just something that keeps you centered and on the right track, or just motivates you? And if none of that, do you just have a favorite song?
Mm. I love Katy Perry's Roar because it has my energy.
Yes, it
I'm
does.
a Leo. I'm a Leo. Uh,
Hmm.
I have this roar. I know I can feel it inside. I have this roar energy. So yeah, so I think that is one of my favorite songs.
I love that. That's a great choice. I can
And
support that. Awesome.
yeah,
Well,
and then there's another song I don't remember the name, but it was one of the songs that was played at the retreat both that you
oh, was it the Sinus one?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes. I can't remember what it's called, but I know that I love the song. Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
add that to the
that's
playlist
kind of
for
my
sure.
my go-to song for, to get into that zone.
Yeah. No, that is such a great song. I love that. Oh,
Mhm.
wonderful. Well, Yulin, I'm so happy that you joined me today to be on the show and to share your knowledge and expertise in this area. And oh, did you have a website or anything you wanted to point people to so they can find you?
Yeah, sure. So it's www.projectm-mindmoney.com. I know it's a little
Awesome.
long.
That's all right. We'll put a link in the episode notes as well so everyone can just click there and find their way to you. But thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for your time with us today. Greatly
Yeah, thank you.
appreciate having you here.